We've seen many legends fall victim to the sport of MMA once their time seemingly runs out, because there's a limited time window any athlete has to compete and still find success at the highest levels. Yet, there are those who through talent, experience, intelligence, sheer will and determination, or something else, manage to stop the clock on their careers at least a little longer. Welcome back, Fight fans. Today we're counting down the top 10 MMA fighters who defy time. Number 10, Herschel Walker. After retiring from a long-time career in the NFL, Herschel Walker decided he was going to do MMA. With only a background in Taekwondo and a 12-week training camp at AKA, he made his MMA debut at the tender age of 47 in Strikeforce, where he proceeded to annihilate some poor guy. But that wasn't enough for Herschel, because when you have the testosterone of 1,000 Fallon Foxes, you need to let it out somehow. So he came back again the next year, and this time it took him only 3 minutes to earn a TKO victory. When he was last interviewed, he was 53 and said he retired because no one wanted to fight him, which I'm not surprised about. He also said he might still fight again, so keep your eyes open for that.
My last fight, a reporter asked me the question. He said, "Herschel, why are you doing this? You don't need money and stuff." And I said, "Guys, I don't do stuff for money. I do it to beat people up."
Number 9, Hoist Gracie, the man who started it all. Gracie won the UFC 1, 2, and 4 tournaments respectively, withdrawing from UFC 3 due to injury, and in UFC 5, fighting to a draw with Ken Shamrock in what would become the longest fight in UFC history. 21 years later, thanks to Scott Coker, we finally got the rematch we didn't know we wanted. And a 49-year-old Hoist Gracie showed that even though the rest of the sport has caught up with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, nothing withstands the test of time like a good knee to the family jewels.
I'm here to fight. We come from the beginning, when there was no gloves, no rules, no time limit, no weight division.
Number 8, the California Kid, Uriah Faber. Already a Hall of Famer, Faber is a former WEC featherweight champion and King of the Cage bantamweight champion. And despite never winning a UFC title, Faber has been a top-ranked fighter for his entire MMA career. In 2016, after a decision victory over Brad Pickett, he announced his retirement. But it wasn't long before rumors emerged that Faber still had the urge to compete. And on July 13, 2019, at UFC Fight Night Durandame vs. Ladd, he made his return, scoring a 46-second TKO victory over up-and-comer Ricky Simon, proving he hasn't lost a step at 40 years of age. Number 7, Demian Maia, the former title challenger and longtime top contender, coming off a win over Anthony Rocco Martin. Originally a middleweight, Maia made the move down to 170 in 2012 and hasn't looked back since, going 12-5, with victories over Gunnar Nelson, Rick Story, Jorge Masvidal, Carlos Condit, Matt Brown, etc. Only falling short against the very top guys in the division whose wrestling style made it difficult for him to implement his jiu-jitsu. Still, at 41 years of age, Demian Maia is on a 2-fight win streak in one of the UFC's hardest divisions, and at this point he is second all-time for most UFC wins. Maia continues to represent jiu-jitsu at the very highest level. Number 6, Anderson Silva, the Spider, one of the greatest of all time, held the middleweight belt until he was 38 years of age, and after a 17-fight win streak came to an end against Chris Weidman, Silva's had a bit of a tough go. After breaking his leg in the rematch with Weidman, testing positive against Nick Diaz, losing a close decision against soon-to-be champion Michael Bisping, and a series of other losses, most recently against the hard-hitting Cannonier, it looks like time has all but caught up with Anderson. Still, he's never looked outclassed in there, beating Derek Brunson and most recently going 3 rounds against current interim champion Israel Adesanya. Can't help but admire what he's been able to accomplish and the level of competition he's been able to maintain for so long.
Uma coisa para alguém. Eu faço tudo que eu faço e continuo lutando porque eu amo lutar.
Number 5, Mirko Cro Cop, another legend on our list. The former kickboxing, Pride, and UFC veteran mounted a resurgence at the age of 38, going on a 10-fight win streak, the longest of his illustrious career. With wins over Satoshi Ishii, King Mo, and avenging losses to Gabriel Gonzaga and Roy Nelson, Cro Cop went on to look extremely dominant past his 40s. Now, many people have speculated about why Cro Cop made this type of resurgence. Personally, I don't like to speculate. What I do like is seeing Cro Cop knock people out, and I'm just happy that he got to end his career doing what we all remember him best for, kicking people in the head. After beating Roy Nelson, Cro Cop finally decided to retire due to health reasons at the age of 44, putting an end to a legendary fighting career.
By unanimous decision, Mirko Cro Cop.
Number 4. Daniel D.C. Cormier. Another all-time great fighter on our list. The 40-year-old heavyweight champion made his MMA debut 10 years ago after a long Olympic wrestling career. He went on to win the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix before moving to the UFC and beating everybody who stood in his way not named John Jones. DC won the light heavyweight title at 37 and became champ at 39 with a brutal knockout victory of the then dominant belt holder Stipe Miocic, once defending the title against the hard-hitting Derek Lewis, and with the rematch set later this month between DC and Stipe, the 40-year-old will have another chance to defy Father Time yet again.
And then he clinches. Exactly what you gotta do.
Number 3. Yoel Romero. The Cuban Olympian made his MMA debut at 35, and since then he's earned 5 Performance of the Night awards with knockouts over Tim Kennedy, Lyoto Machida, Chris Weidman, Luke Rockhold, among others. With his hyper-athleticism, Yoel seems unaffected by the passage of time, looking better every fight into his 40s. After going undefeated in the UFC, Yoel Romero fought for the title against Robert Whittaker in a competitive 5-round fight in 2017, in which Yoel, at the age of 40, was clearly beaten by the younger fighter. However, Yoel came back to knock out Luke Rockhold, and 1 year later in the rematch, Yoel had a much better fight against Robert Whittaker, at times nearly KOing the champion, and although he still lost a controversial decision, he proved that he has a lot more fight left in him. Number 2. Dan Henderson, former Pride welterweight and middleweight champion, the first man to ever simultaneously hold 2 belts at 2 different weight classes. At the age of 40, Henderson knocked out Rafael Feijóo for the Strikeforce light heavyweight title. But little did the world know he was just getting started, and in his next fight, went on to become the first man to knock out the legendary Fedor Emelianenko. After this, Hendo transitioned over to the UFC, where he fought only against legends and top 15 contenders until his final fight. Which came at the age of 45 in a long-sought rematch against then middleweight champion and long-time rival Michael the Count Bisping. Despite hurting Bisping multiple times throughout the fight, Hendo ultimately didn't do enough in the eyes of the judges to sway the fight in his favor and lost a close, hard-fought decision, finally putting an end to a legendary MMA career.
Give it up for Dan Henderson, everybody. This guy is incredible. At his age, he just kicked my ass, man.
Number 1. Randy the Natural Couture. A 2-time light heavyweight and heavyweight champion and legend of the sport. A true pioneer of MMA, Couture beat Kevin the Monster Randleman at 37 to win the heavyweight title. After losing the heavyweight title at 39, he dropped down to 205 and knocked out Chuck the Iceman Liddell to win the light heavyweight belt, which he then unified by beating Tito Ortiz at the age of 40. After a pair of fights with Vitor Belfort, Randy regained the title at 41 before losing twice to rival Chuck Liddell. But Couture would not stop there. At 43 years old, he went back up to heavyweight and again won the heavyweight title from the much bigger and younger Tim Sylvia. With this, he became the oldest UFC champion of all time. Couture finally lost the belt at 45 against a roided-out, pre-diverticulitis, pre-USADA Brock Lesnar, and fought all the way until the age of 47. It's hard to imagine anyone replicating what Randy did, and that's why he's number 1 on our list of MMA fighters who defy time. Okay guys, well this is the end of the video. If you stuck with me so far, thanks a lot. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.